Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. Today is January 2nd, 2022, and today we're going to be having an election prediction between Joe Biden and President Donald Trump. Now, this is perhaps the most likely matchup as of right now, simply because of the fact that Joe Biden is in fact the Democratic incumbent, and obviously the incumbent has a lot of advantage when it comes to the primary and the general election, but especially the primary because his base is supposed to really support and come out for him. And on the Republican side, Donald Trump is the most likely to, as of right now, to win the Republican nomination, simply because he's polling so well on the Republican Party. Now his base, in fact, loves him, and it's more of a either you love Trump or you hate Trump type of dynamic. And according to this poll, which is by The Hill, Trump currently polls at 56% of Republicans who consider him as their top choice, which is not a small feat. And I know that the election is, in fact, a few years away. However, given the circumstances right now, Donald Trump is the favorite. Here's another poll by Politico in the Morning Consult, where Trump also has a pretty overwhelming majority over the rest of the Republicans. Not to mention the fact that even if that he did not have a majority. He's so far ahead, and the other Republicans are simply splitting their votes to a very large extent. So, yeah, given that both of these two candidates are the most likely to win, this is my election prediction as it stands today. And keep in mind, there is the ability for things to, in fact, change because this election is very far from now. So, right now, I'm just filling in some of the safe states on your screen right now. I'll start off with the Democrats, and these are states that are very unlikely to flip, and I'll move over to the Republicans. I mean, obviously anything can happen, but given the current political climate, these are not gonna flip whatsoever. South Carolina, um, Alaska, Hawaii, and I'll put Nebraska second as a toss-up because this obviously went to Obama in '08 and Joe Biden in 2022. So now let's move into the likely states. Now, these are states that are unlikely to flip, but obviously, I do think that the margins are going to be much less in these states compared to some of the other safe states that we were discussing. And these columns, I'm putting in New Mexico, Colorado, and Virginia. Um, it is possible for these states to hypothetically flip, but obviously it's very unlikely. And for the Republicans, I'll be giving them Texas. Now, this one might be a bit controversial, but I do think that Texas is going to remain for the Republicans by likely margin of more than 5%, simply based off of the fact that this state continues to vote overwhelmingly for the Republicans. And well, the margins are in fact narrowing, and earlier I did think that it's possible that this state could flip by 2024, but I don't see that being the case right now. And I do see, given Joe Biden's low approval rating, the possibility for this state to remain in the Republican column is very likely. And I'm actually gonna put Iowa and Ohio. Again, these states could flip, but I don't think Joe Biden is the type of candidate to appeal to a lot of the rural voters in these particular states, especially given the fact that he's polling lower than 2020. And in 2020, these states went to Donald Trump already by a pretty large margin, whereas Joe Biden was predicted to be the favorite. Um, so with that out of the way, I don't think that there's any more likely states. Actually, I'll put in Maine second district. Not much to talk about right there. I don't know why I put Maine at large with Democrats. And let's move into the lean states now. First off, we have Maine, and I do think that the margins in Maine are in fact going to be smaller, but I do think that Maine will go to the Democrats simply based off of the fact that it has, based off of precedent. Next, let's put in the state of Nevada, and Nevada I think will also go to the Democrats because it's gone to the Democrats twice. More okay candidates, Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton were running, who weren't particularly good, but I do think that given the fact that minorities are increasing in the state and that the state is turning more liberal with time, it will continue to go to the Democrats. And New Hampshire, for the same reason. Now let's mark some states for the Republicans. First off, I will put the state of Florida for the Republicans. And this one might be a bit controversial too, but given the fact that Ron DeSantis is fairly popular in this state, and this state did go to the Republicans twice too already. I do think that Donald Trump is likely to actually appeal to a lot of older voters, a lot more than Joe Biden is, and especially given Joe Biden's lower approval rating this time around compared to 2020. Um, I think I can put North Carolina too in the lean column. Obviously, African American um, are increasing in the state in terms of their population. But I don't think that Joe Biden is the type of candidate to necessarily excite a lot of these voters, because he was not able to do that in 2020 when Donald Trump was in the spotlight and he was seen as very unpopular by a lot of different people. So I don't think he'll be able to do the same thing given his lower approval rating in the next election. Now we're going to be moving over to tilt states, and again, it's possible that one may disagree, but I do think that Arizona and Georgia are both going to go to the Democrats by tilt margin. Now, the reason for this is because minorities are increasing in these both states, and particularly despite the fact that I don't think Joe Biden is going to do the best because of the approval rating right now hovering at near Trump levels of around 30 something, high 30 something percent. I don't think that Joe Biden is going to be able to excite these voters. And keep in mind that while Trump's approval rating was in fact as very low too, Trump's base absolutely adored him, and we can see this with the Republican primary polls that I discussed earlier. But Joe Biden's base does not love him in the same way, and in fact, I don't have the article on me right now, but there was an article where only 30 something percent of his base actually wants him to, in fact, run in 2020, or which is not a good sign for an incumbent because the incumbent should have a much higher approval rating among his own party, and there should be excitement to actually vote out for the incumbent to prevent people from simply staying home. And I, again, in these two states, I don't think that there's, and again, in North Carolina and Florida, something that I just remembered, I don't think that there's the kind of energy that we saw in 2020, which was anti-Trump, because Trump has been out of the spotlight for 4 years. So I do think that these states will go to Donald Trump. Therefore, now let's move into the final four states, and this one again, I do think will go to Donald Trump, and the reason for this is because the Rust Belt is in fact losing a lot of their jobs, and they are in fact becoming more conservative as time goes on because the populations in these states are in fact decreasing because um, a lot of their jobs were in fact shipped overseas, which is a whole separate debate. But I do think that neither candidate really has the ability to therefore appeal to these voters because jobs were outsourced under both the Trump administration and the Biden administration. And these states do continue to therefore feel the brunt of a lot of these manufacturing jobs going overseas. And the reason, though, I think that these will go to Trump is because if we look at his 2016 strategy, he vigorously attacked Hillary Clinton on things such as NAFTA and the TPP. And I do think that come 2020-2024, his ability to continue attacking Joe Biden over a lot of these trade deals that he supported, which the voters in these particular states are not fond of. And while Trump did outsource jobs because his his presidency was 4 years ago at this time, I don't think voters are going to care so much about how they were under his presidency. I think they will have overlooked this, and because he is out of the spotlight for such a long time. And my final election prediction is 249 votes for the Democrats and 289 votes for the Republicans. Therefore, Donald Trump would be the next president of the United States if this prediction were to hold true and the election were to in fact happen today. Keep in mind that 2024 is a long time away. We're only in the beginning of 2022, and there is a lot of time for things to change. For all we know, there could be a huge blue wave, or Republicans could win by an even larger margin. But this is my election prediction as it stands today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because it lets me know that you guys like content like this. And leave a comment below for any other suggestions that you may have. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.